Hello and welcome to this lesson on trait approach to personality. In this lesson, we are going to understand what trait of approach to personality is, and we'll also learn important theories, important trait theories given by different psychologists. First of all, let us understand what is meant by trait approach. See, trait approach is an approach that looks at personality in terms of traits or building blocks. So they view personality as something which is made up of building blocks or constituents. And these constituents which make a person's personality are called traits. So the trait approach to personality provides us with various characteristics or traits or features which may be used to describe someone's personality. Let us understand what is meant by a trait. Trait is a relatively enduring attribute or quality on which one individual differs from another. So it is a relatively enduring attribute. We all know what is meant by relatively enduring attribute. Relatively enduring attribute means that it's a quality that remains with the person for a good amount of time. It may change as the result of the individual's interaction with the environment across different situations, but generally it's a stable characteristic and it defines, it informs, it shapes the way individual behaves across multiple situations. Okay, so if I am social, for example, sociability is one of the traits which makes people outgoing, friendly. So if I have this trait of sociability, my trait of sociability is going to express itself, or my trait of sociability is going to guide my behavior across various situations. If I'm sociable, if I have the trait of sociability within my personality, then I'm social in almost all the situations that I come across. Okay, so it is consistent across situations. Traits are consistent across situations. Another important feature of traits is that they combine in different ways and in different strengths to make different personalities. So if there are, say, 15 traits or 10 traits, somebody may be having just 5 out of those 10 traits or qualities. The other person might be having another set of 5 qualities or 6 qualities out of the total 10. And the strength of each one of the characteristics, each trait is there within a personality with a different strength. So traits vary in their combinations and traits vary in their strengths, and that is what makes people different from each other. For example, if we take just two traits, sociability and warmth. So sociability is the characteristic which makes a person sociable, or makes a person more oriented towards people in general and social interaction. A sociable person wants to be friends with people, talk to people, go to parties, is an outgoing person, someone who prefers social interaction. The other trait, warmth, refers to one's tendency to be affectionate to others. So these two traits, sociability and warmth, can combine in different strengths in different people. And someone may not have either sociability or warmth and have some other trait. So traits, if there is a set of traits, they combine in different forms and different strengths to make different personalities. And that is why different combinations of traits with varying strengths makes different kind of personalities, brings about individual differences. What do we mean by individual differences? Individual differences mean that one person is different from the other, and these two people differ just because they have different sets of traits within them. And even if they have similar traits, these traits vary in their strengths. So if we have people, they may be having different combinations of traits, and even if they have same traits, the strength of those traits may vary in those two individuals. So that is why individuals differ. So traits, according to trait theories, traits are a major reason for appearance of individual differences, or major reasons behind why people differ from each other. Some examples of traits, we have already talked about it in our previous lectures. Some of the examples of traits are sociable, impulsive, affectionate, aggressive, shy, dominant, reserved, and so on. So, to quickly revise what we have learned about trait approaches in general, trait approaches assume that personality is made up of traits, which are nothing but constituents or building blocks of personality. Traits are enduring attributes or qualities which make people differ from each other. Traits are relatively stable, consistent across situations, and they combine in different ways and in different strengths to come up to create different personalities. Let us now learn certain trait theories. The trait approaches that we need to cover as per our syllabus are the trait approach given by Gordon Allport, Raymond Cattell, and the big 5-factor model given by Costa and McCrae. So let us proceed to Gordon Allport's trait theory. Gordon Allport defined personality as the dynamic organization within the individual of those psychophysical systems that determine his characteristic behavior and thought. Let us try to understand this definition. Personality, as defined by Gordon Allport, is a dynamic organization. So it's a dynamic organization. Dynamic means it is an evolving organization. It changes as a result of individuals' interaction with the society. Now, the second part is organization within the individual of what? Of those psychophysical systems. Now, what is psychophysical system? It refers to your psychology, your mind. Psycho refers to mind. Physical refers to your physical being. So, it is an organization of both mind and body. Mind has certain traits, the body has a certain biology and a certain physiology. So, this is the organization which keeps changing, which is dynamic. So, it's a psychophysical system. Individual personality is seen as a psychophysical system where mind and body, they are working in coordination. They are two coordinating systems working in an organized manner. And this organization keeps changing. It's a dynamic organization. And this dynamic organization of psychophysical systems determine the individual's characteristic behavior and thought. This organization of mind and body, which is always changing, which is ever changing, ever evolving, determines the person's characteristic behavior. That means unique behavior and thought. Okay, so what makes us unique according to Allport? What makes us unique is the dynamic organization of the psychophysical system within the individual, or the changing organization, ever evolving organization of the mind and body system working together, which determine the person's unique behavior and thoughts. Allport gave 3 kinds of traits to explain personality. According to him, personality is made up of 3 kinds of traits. The first and foremost is the cardinal trait. Now, cardinal traits are the most generalized traits which are so dominant that they almost define all of the individual's actions. If I have to give you an example of cardinal trait, just think about Mother Teresa. What comes to your mind? Think about Gandhi. What comes to your mind? Think about Hitler. What comes to your mind? There is a single trait or a single quality which defines the entire life of Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi, and Hitler. So when we talk about Hitler, Nazism comes to your mind. When I talk about Gandhi, non-violence comes to your mind. When I talk about Mother Teresa, selfless service comes to your mind, right? So this is the cardinal trait within these individuals. Cardinal trait is a quality within the individual, or a trait or quality or a feature of the personality which defines the entire life of the individual. Almost all the individual's actions can be traced back to cardinal traits. Cardinal trait is like an anchor around which all the actions, feelings, and thoughts the person experiences are centered. Coming to central traits are less generalized traits that define the individual's actions to some extent, but not as completely as the cardinal traits. So, central traits are traits which can be used to describe people and also ourselves. For example, I say I am honest, I am sincere, I am introvert. So, these are the traits which are central traits, central to my personality. They define my actions to a great extent, but not as completely and as fully as my cardinal trait. Coming to secondary traits are the least generalized traits which define the individual's behavior only in certain situations. Secondary traits are generally preferences, likes, dislikes. So these are traits which express themselves or which define a person's behavior only in certain situations. So, to quickly revise, Allport looks at personality. The theory that Allport gave, the trait theory of Allport, looks at personality in terms of three kinds of traits: cardinal traits, the most generalized; central traits, less generalized ones; and secondary traits, which are the least generalized ones. Let's now go to the next theory. Raymond Cattell gave a very simple definition to personality as that which permits a prediction of what a person will do in a given situation. Cattell gave us two kinds of traits that make up a personality. The first kind is source traits. Source traits are key dimensions of personality that underlie many other traits. The name only tells you they are source traits. So they are some of the basic traits that make up a person's personality. Cattell gave 16 source traits which make up different personalities because these traits are combined in different forms and in different strengths in various individuals. So he actually gave 16 traits which are nothing but dimensions. For example, relaxed and tense. This is a dimension. At one end is the relaxed personality, and at the other end there is the tensed personality. So, relaxed versus tensed. Concrete thinking versus abstract thinking. This is another source trait given by Cattell. So, concrete thinking is thinking in concrete terms. Abstract thinking is thinking in abstractions, thinking in the form of symbols, images. Another trait given by Cattell is trusting versus suspicious. So at one end is trusting personality, and at the other end is a suspicious personality. Similarly, practical and imaginative. So this is a continuum. This is a dimension. Someone may be less trusting than the other person. Someone may be people may lie at different positions along this continuum, and that is how people become different personalities. Cattell identified these 16 personality factors. The other kind of traits are called surface traits. Surface traits are more apparent and observable dimensions of personality. So, source traits are the origin of surface traits. For example, let us consider an example. For example, the surface trait of forming friendships easily is an observable trait. This can be observed by others, but that stems from a source trait which is trusting or suspiciousness. So, if the person is a trusting person, the person will be able to form friendships easily. If the person is suspicious, the person may not be able to form friendships easily. The person has difficulty trusting people, which influences the person's capacity to form friends. So, This is an observable trait which derives from or which originates from the source trait of trust and suspicion. Cattell also gave us 16 personality factor questionnaire. This is a questionnaire which can be used to assess the personality of individuals along the 16 personality factors given by Cattell. Let us now go to our last theory, which is the big five factor theory given by Costa and McCrae. The big five factor model given by Costa and McCrae regards personality as made up of five basic traits. So they have identified five most fundamental, most important factors which make up people's personalities. So Costa and McCrae, they identified five basic traits which may be used to describe personality. So according to them, the first trait is openness to experience. Now, again, we have to understand that they are talking about a continuum. This is a dimension. So, at one end would be openness to experience, at the other end is rigidity to experience. So, this is a whole continuum which they are talking about. The second trait is extroversion. Again, extroversion is one extreme, introversion is another extreme. Extroversion is a trait which makes people socially active, assertive, outgoing, talkative, fun loving. So you just try to understand that extroversion is a big factor within which multiple traits or multiple features are included. So they have identified, Costa and McCrae have identified such basic traits which include many other traits. So these are the five basic traits. The third one is agreeableness, which makes people helpful, cooperative, friendly, caring, and nurturing. Fourth is neuroticism. People who score high on this factor are emotionally unstable, anxious, worried, fearful, distressed, irritable, and hypertensive. The fifth one is conscientiousness, which refers to achievement oriented, dependable, responsible, prudent, hardworking, and self controlled. Okay, on the other end of conscientiousness is impulsive. So, conscientious people are very controlled in their thought and behavior, whereas impulsive people have less control over their actions and thoughts. So, this we have to understand that these five big factors are like continuums, five big continuums. So, someone may be very close to the extreme called conscientiousness, someone may fall very close to or nearly at the impulsive extreme. Someone may fall in between, so very balanced, not very conscientious, not very impulsive, very balanced. Someone may be little towards right from the center, someone may be little towards left to the center. So it all depends on what is the strength of that trait within that individual. So, Costa and McCrae look at personality in terms of these big five factors, which includes many other social traits. For example, openness to experience includes imagination, curiosity, openness to new ideas, interested in cultural pursuits. So, this openness to experience is a broad category which includes many other traits. So all these five factors, they are called big five factors because they are broad categories or broad traits within which similar and smaller traits can be clubbed together. So that's all for this model of personality, the big five factor model of personality. And that's all for today's lecture. Happy learning. Thank you.